Welcome to the Steam Machine Podcast. With your hosts, Dalton and Ryan.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week, I have recruited some friends, some dear friends. And first up, you know this man from joining me on the Hollow Knight episode. So everyone say hello to the Turtlebearman himself. Nate, say hello, buddy.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And for the first time, I don't know if this is his first podcast, but for the first time on the Steam Machine Podcast, we have Nate's brother. You might know him as Icebrandstudios, but I know him as Willie. So Willie, say hello to everyone.
How's it going?
And we recruited Willie because we were like, you know what? I was streaming this on Twitch, streaming Doom 2. I guess I should say this week's episode is Doom 2. I guess I should actually say that. I did not realize that Willie seems to be a wealth of knowledge about this game. So let's go ahead and jump into it, man. Like, what is your history with Doom, the both of you? But we'll start with Willie. What is your history with Doom 2?
So I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think I would go ahead and say that Doom 2 is basically my favorite game of all time. When we were younger, we had some IBM PCs. The game Wolfenstein 3D had come out a little bit before then, and we played a little bit of the shareware version. But when we got a copy of the Ultimate Doom, that game just blew us away. Like, we were installing that in any new computer we got. You know, if our grandparents would bring home a laptop computer from the school district they worked at, we would be like, oh, let's install Doom on this thing.
Awesome.
And then over the years, fell out for a while, and then as I was getting older, I'm like, I'm just going to install Doom on this computer. Started playing all the Doom games, Doom 2, Final Doom, etc., and just it became something that stuck with me this whole time. I enjoy playing, modifications, fan-made maps, megawads, just all kinds of stuff. Like, it's a game for me that kind of has never gotten old.
I got you. Now, Nate, I know you told me that you're not a huge first-person shooter fan, but this is different for you. This is kind of like I can kind of understand that, but yeah, go ahead and explain. You do like this game a lot as opposed to other first-person shooters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Willie was saying, Doom is just one of those games that we grew up with that I remember as being pretty darn young and sitting on the chair next to him while he was on the computer just watching him play it. So it became an interesting thing where it's just I have this good memories of hanging out with my big brother while he played Doom, and then got into playing it a little bit myself. And like you said, it feels way different than any other kind of FPS kind of game. And I think it has a little bit to do with the fact that you don't have to worry so much about the V-axis so much, where you're really only having to worry about left and right and side to side, not so much up and down.
Yeah,
and
which is way easier.
Yeah.
But depending on the situation in the game, I'll say. But yeah, not having to worry about headshots is nice.
Yeah, it's a lot less complicated to deal with. And like I said, it's one of those games that kind of sticks out because it was such an important part of growing up, because it was that game that's that was the edgy game, that everybody was kind of like, you're going to hell. But it was just so fun, man.
Yeah, that was one thing I noticed on stream is I'm running around and I would see these quivering bodies on spikes and stuff. And I was just thinking to myself, this game came out in the early 90s. This had to have been pushing the boundaries a little bit back then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People talk about Mortal Kombat. Nah, man, have y'all looked at Doom?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first Doom came out in 1993, and the episodes are called things like The Shores of Hell, Inferno. You go in there and there's devils running around, metal music covers playing in MIDI, pentagrams and impaled bodies everywhere. It's very much inspired by heavy metal album covers and that kind of thing, which was exactly what was extremely controversial and stuff at the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, man. I remember my first experience with Doom. Other than so my dad had a friend who was really into PC games and stuff, so he had a bunch of different oh man, I can't think of I guess they would be id back then. It would be Doom, Wolfenstein, Counter-Strike, Half-Life. He had all of those games. So he had all these classics that he would let me play. And I remember messing around with Doom a little bit and possibly Doom 2, but I was so young that I wouldn't really remember much about it. But it was in my later years with Doom 3 that I got into Doom. Now, imagine my surprise that I played Doom 3 and then played an actual Doom game, and the difference in them is astounding because Doom 3 is more like a survival horror game in my opinion. Everything's real dark, you got your flashlight, but it's way different.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing is when Doom 3 came out, so the Doom series had been on hiatus for a while. There was Doom 1, Doom 2, Final Doom, and then the id Software boys were making Quake, and then the Quake engine ended up being used in so many of the games you mentioned. Like a modified version of that became the Source engine, that Half-Life, Counter-Strike, I think Counter-Strike, even Team Fortress 2, games like that eventually all descended from that Quake engine. But then they went back to Doom to make something entirely new, and no one knew what to expect. And it turned out, I guess they thought, games have moved on in the last several years. Like Doom 2 came out in 1994. Final Doom, I think, in 1995, and then there was almost a decade, I think, passed before Doom. I think it was about a decade that passed before Doom 3 came out, and they were like, I don't know if people want to have these, quick arcadey shooters anymore. People are moving to more narrative experiences, so they kind of went for this dark, slower moving horror, very horror inspired theme, and so different from the rest of the series. And a lot of people didn't like it at the time, but it's been getting critically reevaluated, and people think, Doom 3 had a lot of interesting things to say.
Yeah, and being it was my first real experience with a Doom game, I personally really liked Doom 3. And going back to the older Dooms, it threw me off a little bit because I was expecting that, that was my first dip into it. And then it wasn't until the Doom 2016 game that I played that and really started to appreciate Doom for what it's supposed to be, which I think helped me this time when playing this, helped me enjoy this more because it was I knew what I was going into this time. I knew that it was just going to be a bullet hell, kill everything, and try not to die. And I had a blast with it. Let me go ahead and get out of the way the obligatory Wikipedia bullshit. Doom 2, not to be confused with Doom 2, which we will get into in just a second. Doom 2 is also known as Doom 2 Hell on Earth, is a first-person shooter game by id Software. It was originally released for MS-DOS computers in 1994 and on the Macintosh in 1995. Unlike the original Doom, which was initially only available through shareware and mail order, Doom 2 was sold in stores. Master levels for Doom 2. An expansion pack with 21 new levels was released in December 26, 1995. Doom 2 was ported to the Game Boy Advance, the Tapwave Zodiac, the Xbox Live Arcade, the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And pretty much, I'm assuming anything that has a screen, if it's anything like Doom 1.
Man, Game Boy Advance, I should have picked up that version.
I was just sitting here thinking, man, I wonder how this game would run on a Game Boy Advance. I might have to bust out an emulator and see what that's about.
Strangely, Game Boy Advance has a bit of an interesting history with that because they kind of tried to port the first Doom in as a full port of Doom 1 first. When they went and ported Doom 2, they used a completely different engine, and it's actually regarded as one of the better earlier ports of Doom 2.
Wow. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, because the Doom 2 port, or Doom 1 and Doom 2 ports have been a mixed bag of success. Some of them run really badly because the system couldn't handle it. Some just had to cut so much stuff to make things work. The frame rate is usually an issue, and it's just the Game Boy Advance kind of just happily runs something that plays quite a lot like Doom 2.
Huh. Now, wasn't Doom released for Super Nintendo? Wasn't that kind of a rough version?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the ones that kind of is emblematic of what was wrong and right with them porting it. As a technical achievement, it's astounding that they got all of that working on the Super Nintendo, but they had to sacrifice a lot to get it to work. In Doom, one of the cool things about Doom that advanced it over Wolfenstein 3D was it wasn't just the walls that had textures. You could texture the floor, the ceiling, have them go different heights and all that. Super Nintendo had to sacrifice some of that stuff. So the floors and ceilings are all just solid colors except for the sky textures. Parts of the level had to be basically blocked off entirely, so you can't really explore the larger levels especially. They had to make a lot of sacrifices, and the game, I think that's the Super Nintendo one that kind of famously introduces a lot of input lag too, because it kind of has to think about stuff because it's trying so hard to deliver the graphics.
Yeah, that would make sense because that system just like was not as popular as a PC at all in those days. Even though back then PCs weren't what they are today by any stretch of the imagination, but they were definitely more than a little Super Nintendo. And I can imagine that it would struggle. And, having to cut corners and things like that. I mean, I can understand that, but at a certain point you have to ask yourself, is it worth porting it if we have to cut so many corners?
And the answer tended to be, this game is printing money. We kind of have to.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Was this the introduction of the super shotgun in Doom 2?
Yes. So Doom 2 is kind of something in between a sequel and an expansion, and one of the main things that it introduces is the super shotgun, which, if you've played the original Dooms, in Doom 1, each weapon kind of had its own niche. You kind of want to use shotguns up close, the machine gun when you need to kind of have a heavy suppressing fire, rocket launcher when you're at a distance, etc. Super shotgun's like, nah, just use me. I'm pretty much going to be good.
Now, Nate, I know you streamed this week as well, and Willie, you did too, actually. I think we all three streamed this. What was your favorite weapon? Like, what was your go-to?
Oh yeah, I mean the go-to was still clearly the super shotgun. Like you said, it's kind of like the jack of all trades kind of weapon. Like no matter what I was fighting, going with the shotgun seemed to be pretty much the best pick. The only downside to it is it does feel like it eats up through the ammo a lot faster. I mean, because obviously it does use double the ammo of the regular shotgun.
Yeah.
But man, I was always sad when I was low on shotgun shells.
That was the same with me. It was like, I tended to lean towards the normal shotgun just because it used less shells. That was just like, I was using the minigun and I was almost out of ammo. And I was like, oh, I guess I should just switch to my pistol. And lo and behold, they used the same ammunition. So I switched to my pistol and only had forward bullets. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, I guess I better run.
Yeah, I didn't see any situation where I'd want to be using the pistol, and I think that's kind of the point of the weapon a little bit, that it doesn't really have any advantages over anything else.
Now, there were some of the power-up things that I found that I didn't quite understand, I guess. Berserk, does that, because that would just unequip my weapon, so was I supposed to be punching things when I got that?
So Berserk is a little bit complicated. It does try to hint that you should be using your fist when you have it out. The way Berserk works is it refills your health up to 100. If you have more than 100, it doesn't change it. But if you have like 1% or 99%, it pops you back up to 100. And for it makes your screen kind of glow this awful red color for a little bit, which is supposed to be like you got blood running through your eyes, your bloodlust. But even after that fades away, until you finish the level, you actually deal 10 times your normal damage with your fist attack.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, it means that a lot of the lower tier enemies that are a little hard to deal with, you can just run up, punch them in one shot. Anything smaller than like a Hell Knight, I think.
Okay, now see, that's the one thing that I'm glad y'all are here, because I know you guys know the names of the enemies, and I didn't seem to catch the names of any of them, unless you guys were telling me what they were in chat, because I guess maybe that's something that would have been in the manual of the game.
Yeah, there kind of isn't like a in-game like meet the pinky or whatever until you get to the end, and a lot of the monsters also kind of have like 3 accepted names, because there's like the name that the credits use, the name the manual uses, and like the most common fan name, for instance. So like you might hear like I've seen like Pinky Demon on the internet for the same monster that's called Demon in the manual, and it's called like Bulldog Demon at your school playground, because I definitely remember that being a nickname. So like there's a lot of terminology, and unless you kind of were immersed in the game going on, I can see why it wouldn't be immediately obvious.
Okay, yeah, I know the ones that probably gave me the most trouble were I didn't have so much trouble with the big ball things that have the I guess the overseer, maybe the
Cacodemon.
Yeah, those things. I didn't have so much problem with those, or the Ghost Rider skulls. But the dudes that threw the green energy balls and the Minotaur looking guys, both just would kick my ass because the green balls, I guess I was really bad at dodging. So I would just not get out of the way. And then I know you guys watched me struggle with those Minotaur guys, and how long was it? Like 15 minutes before I finally killed all of them and found that button that would have killed them all immediately.
Oh yeah. So at the beginning of the level, there's a little name that comes up. I know a lot of people often skip it. That level's called the Crusher, and you can sit there fighting these monsters. So we all played on different. Well, Nate and Dalton streamed their games on Hurt Me Plenty difficulty. So if you're like a long-time Doom guy, you probably are used to that platform that the Crusher crushes, having this massive boss monster called the Spider Demon or Spider Mastermind on it. On Hurt Me Plenty, it's 4 Hell Knights, which doesn't exactly tell you, hey, I can't fight these guys. I'm going to try to beat them. And so Dalton's over there, like, fighting them. And all the while, I'm like, if he turns around and presses that button, it's going to lower a little and just smush all of them. And so he finally, after, like, so many good efforts, finally takes down the 4 Hell Knights. Heroic fight. Feels great. Almost all out of health. Runs around and presses that button to see what it does. It starts to lower, and it's just like...
Oh, yeah. I almost wish somebody would have clipped that because I know my face was just sheer disappointment. It's like, damn it. Man, yeah, it was heartbreaking. And then that was pretty much when I was like, all right. This game has defeated me a little bit. Because it's like, damn, man. So I did not realize there were as many levels in this game as there are. I figured that there would be like maybe 15, 20, but there's 30 not counting the master levels, right?
So there's 30 levels in the main campaign plus 2 secret levels. The master levels is kind of an additional add-on that came later that it was not really all that well received, and generally speaking is kind of the official Doom releases, is kind of one that's talked about the least. But it's in the Doom 2 package that's available on Steam and for most of the current major consoles, so like that's a neat bonus. I thought it was a little weird that they included it as if it was just an episode of the original game, because it was not in the original game. But like there's 30 levels in the game, and your first time going through it, they're often like not that easy to figure out what you're doing. Like I remember on level 3, like there was a switch behind a blue key that raised a bridge from the handrail of a bridge. And I remember, Dalton, you hit that button, and it took you quite a while to figure out that that's what that switch did, just because it's like, you wouldn't have known to look there if you didn't literally see it raising the moment you switch.
Yeah, I remember running around like, all right, I think I've killed everything, I've gathered everything. And then finally you were like, yeah, go check, I think it's up there to your right. And I looked and I went, oh, son of a bitch. All right, there we go. Yeah, I never found that.
So that's kind of like what I'm saying is it's hard to estimate how long the game is going to take to beat, because like getting to watch you guys stream, you guys weren't familiar with the maps from the original game, and I got to see them from new eyes for the first times, and it was like there was a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh, I know to do this, but only because I've been doing it, really frequently for basically most of my life.
Yeah, because there was definitely this one level where I was just running around in circles, and I know Willie was getting super frustrated watching it because I kept running past the same door over and over again. I never noticed the door myself, and it was the way forward, and I just kept running in circles around it because I never noticed it sitting there. And I know that sounds stupid, like, how blind are you? But it's like, I was like, this isn't there. I've gone everywhere in this level, and I can't figure out what to do.
That particular one, that was so that was map 16, the inmost dens, and there's a bunch of red bars that are right next to it, and you run up to them and try to press on them, like, oh, I guess even if I have the red key, I can't open these bars. And then the switch that opens the bars is like right next to the keys, but you already like tried to press on it, you're like, oh, I guess there's nothing here. And like I would never have thought that, because I'm like, well, I go there, that's where I go. But like your first time, it is a little bit hard to see, because you think all those red skull signpostings are telling you, hey, these are the bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the last level that I played, I wish I remembered the name of it. I know it was one of the city levels. I got so lost that I started getting anxiety because I couldn't figure out where I was going. It was like, oh my God, where the fuck am I supposed to go? Ah! And I finally hit save and I exited out of it. and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna play that again tomorrow. But then I didn't. I was like, I didn't. I ended up just like watching SCP videos.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
I put more time than I thought I would into Doom 2. I figured I would play a couple levels and be like, all right, I got the gist of this. But no, I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a hell of a fun game, and like you said, man, like I didn't get through all of it either, just because lack of experience, lack of time, and obviously my streaming schedule. I don't want to just become a Doom stream, so I didn't want to make a third or fourth stream out of Doom 2. I literally thought, like you, but when going into it, that 2 streams would be enough to cover it. Well, I streamed it twice, and I only got a little over halfway through it. But that wasn't because I wasn't enjoying it. It was just because it's a lot longer and meatier of a game than I remembered it being.
Yeah, I expected it. I guess I expected some of the levels to be a lot shorter, too, and
Yeah.
the fact that they're the puzzles and stuff going in not knowing what they are. Yeah, I didn't get nearly as far as I expected to, but I do appreciate the game for the history of it. But what were you going to say, Will?
Oh, that's just exactly what I was about to bring up, was that you can look up how long the game takes on like howlongtobeat.com, and they'll give you this estimate. When you see that estimate, it's based on, people that have played it for the first time, people that played it 100 times, and it says, oh, it takes about 6 hours, 7 hours to beat. But like, yeah, if you're seeing these puzzles for the first time, I didn't know how to estimate how long this game was going to take for y'all to beat, and I was kind of a little worried that after playing for about 3 hours, you guys would be like, okay, this level's too obtuse, I'm kind of done with it. Because like, honestly, if you were asking, hey, I'm getting this game for the first time, I just want to play through the campaign, how much time can I expect to get out of the game? I couldn't give you a number.
I would tell them, I'd be like, I'd say 15 hours at least. If you take your time and explore the levels and try to find the secrets, might take you a little longer. But I mean, I would say somebody coming in with how some of the puzzles are, that they're not exactly easy, I'd say. Yeah, probably 15 hours.
I also think that probably depends as well on the difficulty level, because me and you are kind of cocky bastards and didn't want to play on baby level difficulty. So we went stock standard straight through middle, hurt me plenty. But there's 2 levels of difficulty lower and 2 levels of difficulty higher than that. So it kind of, I think if we would have played on the easiest setting, we probably would have gotten further, but we probably wouldn't have had as much fun as gamers,
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Now, I will say that I popped into the level select just to see what else there was on there, and I was surprised to see a Wolfenstein level. Is that like a secret level, or is that just kind of like a demo for another, like the Wolfenstein game?
So it's like a little sweet little addition that they had, where if you find this fairly obtuse secret in one of the city levels, which, I mean, you were talking about the city levels. The middle levels of the game are the city levels, like 12 through 20, essentially. And they're kind of more open-ended exploratory type levels. If you find the secret level on 15, it takes you to what it calls map 31, because it's just not in the middle of the level. It's just like a secret or whatever. And it's just straight up a one-for-one recreation, except for a couple of minor tweaks, of the very first map of Wolfenstein 3D, the classic game. And like, it was a fun little way for them to do like a throwback to their own, like, what kind of got us here in first-person shooters.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was another level too. I don't remember the name of it, but it was after Wolfenstein, so I assume it would be another secret level. But when you went into it, it was a big open room. Like, you got a rocket launcher and some rockets, and then you run around this corridor, and it's this long ass hallway, big open hallway with a door on the other end of it. And it's like, you go over there, you open the door, and a Hell Knight comes out. And I think it was the big one. Like, yeah, and you got to fight him. You're like shooting rockets at him and all that, and you get past him, and then like you go through the door and then that's the end of the level. There was like not much other to it other than that.
Yeah, so that one is also a recreation of a level from Wolfenstein. It's called the Super Secret Level in Doom, Grossa, and it's just straight up the first boss stage from Wolfenstein. But instead of bringing that boss enemy, they used the second boss from the first Doom game as the guy you fight.
Okay. Yeah, Grossa. That's exactly what it was. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, man. Do you think, like, if you were to, well, I know your answer to this, Willie. So I'll ask Nate. Nate, if someone were to ask you to compile a list of, say, like the top 50 or top 100 PC games that people should play, like in general, do you think that Doom 2 should be on there?
Oh, absolutely. Doom 2 should be on the list. Well, now that is an interesting question because you have to wonder. I don't think you'd have both Doom and Doom 2 on there. So if I was going to make that call, I would put the original Doom on there over Doom 2 for a few reasons. I think it is a little bit better put together, like comprehensively from level to level, beginning to end. And I also think that the soundtrack from the first Doom game is a lot better than the second game. Like for the Doom collection as a whole, like 1, 2, and Final Doom, I think that would be definitely on the list. But if you're only going to go with one type of Doom game on there, because I think only one would really make it, I would say it'd be the original Doom.
Okay, and Willie, you would agree with that, or do you disagree?
Not only would I agree with that, I would say that's probably not even a controversial opinion in the Doom community itself. Like, Doom 2 is fantastic as a tool for putting together levels. Like, most of the fan-made development for Doom has been using Doom 2 because it has those extra monsters, that extra weapon that changes the balance, and you can create a whole lot of different, really creative arrangements of the enemies to create all these new experiences. But if you just wanted to play one campaign, the original Doom has some of the better levels. It's a lot more streamlined and straightforward. It also, Doom 2 kind of expects you to have played Doom 1 in some senses where, like, you can play it without it, but it does kind of seem to assume that you know some of the tricks. Whereas Doom 1, it starts off like, this is the first-person shooter you have ever played. It's 1993. You might have done Wolfenstein before this, but let's just take you in, introduce each monster one by one, introduce each new concept one by one. And I think that it provides a tighter experience overall. So I'd say if you were going to only play one Doom game, I'd say I would consider it kind of required reading, top 50, top 10, if you wanted to learn about PC gaming history. But I would also agree with Nate. I would say go through one.
Yeah, because like even thinking about it historically, like it's been ages since I've played the original Doom. I still feel like I could do E1 M1 with my eyes closed and still remember where that stupid imp up there is. And
yeah, honestly, I've got like little to no recollection of the earlier Doom game. Even though I've played Doom 1, I've got like no memory of it, so I'm gonna have to add that to the list. I don't know how I own like the Doom reboot and Doom 2 and Doom 3, but I don't own Doom 1.
It might be listed in your system as the Ultimate Doom.
Now that's a possibility, because I think I got a bundle. I feel like I should have it. Like I think I have Final Doom, but
yeah, if you have all those other Dooms, there's a chance you have it. It might be listed as the Ultimate Doom. So when they released Doom 2, the original Doom was released as a shareware game. You'd write in with a check and buy the full game. They wanted to sell it in stores alongside of Doom 2. They made the Ultimate Doom, where they added a 4th episode. And other than that, it's exactly Doom
1. Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Now, what about Final Doom? Does that kind of like continue the story of the first two? Does it kind of wrap that up, or?
Final Doom is interesting, because at this point, id Software themselves had already started working on the Quake engine. So Final Doom is actually not produced by the level designers that made Dooms 1 and 2. They hired a group called Team TNT, which was a fan-made group that was about to release a big wad called Evolution. And they told them, hey, we'll actually release this as a full expansion to Doom 2. And alongside that, they also got 2 of the guys there, the brothers Casali, and had them make another entirely separate episode. So Final Doom is kind of like more Doom if you've already finished Doom 2. It doesn't really advance the story too much, and it's kind of dubiously canonical, but a lot of the levels in there are some of the more tight gameplay experiences you'll see, especially in the Plutonia half of it. But essentially, it's more or less just 2 32-map campaigns for the original Doom 2. Like, it doesn't have new monsters, it only has a few new, like, textures and songs and all that. It doesn't add weapons, it doesn't advance the engine considerably, but it's like, it's new campaigns.
Okay. Now, I think we can all agree that we absolutely need some Doom mods where Doom guy is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right?
Hell yeah.
oh yeah, for sure. And it won't be complete unless he does do the people's elbow.
Of course, that's like the way you get berserk instead of punching people. You spit in your hand and slap them, spit in your hand and slap them, and they fall down. He drops the elbow. Exactly.
That's perfect.
No, and his little head looking down in the bottom of the screen, but instead of looking left and right, he's just chucking up the eyebrow over and over.
He takes a look at the cyber demon. What's your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
In his little portrait down at the bottom, whenever he gets hit, like he puts his hand up to his head, and then when he moves his hand, there's blood there.
Nice.
I think you have a project, Icebrand.
Honestly, this could work.
Now, did either of you watch the Doom movie? I know we joked around about it.
I haven't seen it, no.
No. Oh, you've never seen it at all?
No.
Oh my god. So, okay, not to spoil it, like, it's cheesy, right? It's just a cheesy action flick, as usual.
Yeah.
But dude, there is a part at the end of it, and
Yes.
spoilers for people who, I guess, haven't seen the Doom movie and would like to not know this, but like there's a part at the end of it where The Rock is like gone full badass, and it shows him, and he's like got this big ass gun, and he cocks it, and the camera flips around, and all of a sudden it's first person, and it's from the perspective of like you would be in, I guess it would be Doom 3 at the time. And then it just plays through this whole scene where you're seeing from first person The Rock's view, and it's like a Doom video game, and it is sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's probably the only redeeming quality of that movie from my memory. But like, it's a really cool scene.
I think that, again, that's not a controversial opinion in the wider Doom community. It's just, you don't have to watch that whole movie, but that scene really does kind of try to redeem it.
Yeah. Oh man, I need to look into this Doom community that you speak of, because I can imagine that there is just an absurd amount of mods and levels for Doom.
Oh yeah, like,
The one that sticks out to me that I've always seen online is everything is Tim Allen. It's like the walls are Tim Allen. The gun is just every time you shoot the gun, all the enemies make that noise. It sounded like hell, to be honest. But I guess that's fitting. It's Doom. You're in a Tim Allen hellscape.
So I think that's the thing that I think makes Doom 2 one of the most enduring games of all time. Not only is there a scene, and there has been for more than 25 years, but like the fact that the game's so openly moddable means that like things from comedy mods, like you said, to full like overhauls of the game to make an entirely different game in the same engine have been made. Like, I know when you were on stream after it was pretty late, you switched over to a mod called Wrecker, which like completely replaced all the weaponry, all the enemies with this medieval fantasy type situation.
I was
like,
super impressed with that.
There's so many of those. I mean, that one was super cool too because it runs off the vanilla engine. But there are people who made entire like Sonic the Hedgehog fan games using the Doom 2 engine. There are people that made like entirely new projects like platformers and like entirely different genres of games that like use this engine because it's so extended. And then people that just want to make their own Doom maps, they have so many options. They can add new enemies now. They can add new textures, new palettes, new music, obviously. And that's how the scene's been going. There's like, for 25 years, well, for the last 15 years, there's been an annual award just highlighting the 10 best Doom mods of the year. And most mods that make it are made that year. There's so many made each year that the top 10 are still like the super elite. The honorable mentions are like super elite. They basically have like, there's hundreds of Doom episodes and modifications, weapon packs, all that come out each year, and it's like why the game is still this vibrant to this day.
Yeah, that's badass. That's badass, especially like, you know, I'm really into like the Elder Scrolls games, and with the modding community behind that it always makes me happy to hear that like these other games have such a big community. And honestly, I guess I could probably thank communities like the Doom community for existing, because without them, it probably never would have translated over to, you know, the mods that I really enjoy in Skyrim. Because if people didn't make their games accessible and moddable, then that shit never would have started happening.
Yeah, and I mean, games like Elder Scrolls are such a vibrant modding community today, and I have to think that it may not start with Doom per se, but I think that that's when a lot of people were getting, you know, World Wide Web and Usenet access for the first time, people were able to share these mods, to share their speed runs with one another and all that. And I think that a lot of what we take for granted in online gaming communities does ultimately kind of harken back to that.
Yeah, totally. Well, Nate, you got any final thoughts, man? If you had to give this 1 out of 10 demons, how many demons would you give it?
Oh man, just only 10 demons? Because I can count a lot more than that just in the first map of the game. But no, really, I would go ahead and give this really extremely high marks. I would go ahead and give this 9.5 out of 10 demons.
All right, that's solid. Willie, what about you?
I can't believe you didn't make the scale out of 666. How dare you?
Oh God. You know what? Yeah, that's yeah, you're right. You're right. So let's just amend this. Take 2. Even though I'm not going to edit it. But still. Yeah, okay, out of 666. So Nate, I'll let you do that math real quick in your head if you want to do that average. I don't know.
Let's say 647.
All right,
Nice.
there you go.
667. Easy.
667. Nice.
I told you it was
Neighbor
my
of the
favorite game
Beast.
going into this. I'm biased, man.
The neighbor of the beast, 667.
I think I'd give it a solid like 645, 650. Like it's a defining shooter, and I'm thankful for its existence because of all the games that I've played that have come since it that have been inspired by it.
Yeah, absolute industry changer.
Yeah, for sure. So shout out to id Software. All right, so something that I've been mulling around in my head. So within the past, 4 or 5 days, I've been getting really into watching stuff about SCPs, which for those of you listening who don't know what that is, you can Google SCP and go to the wiki. It'll be way easier to do that than me explaining all of it, but basically it stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. It's like a giant ARG, augmented reality game that like people from all over the world add to, and they add to the lore. It's really cool stuff, man. I'll think X-Files-esque type stuff, like paranormal entities, anomalies, things that should not be. Like the SCP Foundation is in charge of securing them, containing them, and protecting people from them. Basically, it's what the name comes from. So I've been mulling around this idea, and I was actually in Wayward Cross Comics Twitch stream the other day. Shout out to them. And Paul and Chandra and I were talking about SCPs, and I said that I would love to run like a tabletop game, but I don't know what core system to use. And Chandra recommended Call of Cthulhu.
Oh.
And I'm like, I think that would work. Like, I might have to like amend a few things and change a couple rules here and there, but like, I think that would be really cool. And my idea would be, I guess maybe that the players would be on a, I guess like a reconnaissance type team, that you would be in charge of going and securing these different SCPs, depending on their their ranking, which I think is Safe, Euclid, and Keter. And Keter is the ones that'll fuck you up. But there are different like ranks of access to the knowledge. Like, so there you have like rank D or D class, which are just like regular people or inmates, people like that. And you have C class. So I figured with the players, if like say Nate, I don't know if you had any previous knowledge to SCP stuff, but I know Willie, you seem to know what I was talking about when I brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use y'all as an example. If you guys were to play, then I would make you, Willie, a C class because you have prior knowledge to the stuff. And Nate, I would make a D class because he would be on a need-to-know basis with some of the information. And then I would leave it up to the C class individuals to kind of guide. They would be kind of the quote-unquote leaders of the party per se, because they're going to know more about what's going on because they have higher rank. They can get more access to the information.
I think that's an interesting idea. I think there are some other RPG systems that use like limited knowledge type things as a basis too. Like I think Cthulhu would be a great job just because everything kind of goes wrong in Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Like I think Paranoia, if you wanted to do it like in an almost comedy sense, might be adaptable too.
That's not a bad idea either. I've read about Paranoia. I've never actually played it, but I've read about
Me
it.
neither,
And it seems pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly. Everything I've read about it makes me wish I could play it.
Yeah, I'm clearly the odd man out, least knowledgeable about any of this stuff.
We just started making shit up 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay. It kind of sounded like it, but I wasn't sure.
Collaborative storytelling, yes, and please.
But yeah, so that's something I'm mulling around, and I don't know if I would. I want to do it and record it, and I don't know if I would whether put it on the main feed or maybe do that as something to entice people to join the Patreon. Which, shout out, Nate, what's up, buddy? You're the man.
Hey.
You're actually on here for me to say thank you, so thank you. And yeah, I think that's about all I've got for that. I asked Mr. Bay if he had the X-Files, and what do you know, he did. So now I have the X-Files, so I might have to start watching those.
Nice.
So we changed things up a little bit for the show. I decided, since it's just going to be me for a while, and really I was just kind of like thinking about ways to keep it fresh and kind of get more fan interaction. So I had a talk with Steamy, and Steamy and I decided that he's going to give me 5 choices a week. And I'm going to post those choices in a poll on our Discord, which if you would like to join our Discord, if you go to thesteammachinepodcast.wordpress.com, there is a link to the Discord. You click it, it should send you an invite. You can come join us. And there's a section on there called Show Poll, and the selections will be there, and you are welcome to come and vote on whichever one you would like to hear next. So that way, you guys can kind of guide me in a sense of like what you want to hear, because I've got an ass load of games, and instead of just like narrowing it down to just one choice, it's like, well, what if I roll it and I get a game that like I might think's cool, but like none of the listeners are going to give a flying fuck about, you know what I mean? So it's like, this way it'll be something that everybody can kind of chip in and have their voice heard, and that way, like when the episode rolls around, maybe you'll be a little more excited about hearing it because it was your choice. And speaking of which, it was close this week between 2. So like, it came down to the wire between Chrono Trigger and Darksiders. Now, I don't know about you guys. I was a little surprised to see Darksiders get that many votes. But Chrono Trigger did end up pulling it out. So next week, the episode is going to be on Chrono Trigger, which I'm gung-ho about.
Yeah, definitely a classic game. I actually was one of the people that voted for Darksiders just because I looked up all the games on Steam after you'd posted that. And I was like, this game actually looks really neat. I'd like to hear some more about it, because you've already heard a lot about Chrono Trigger in your life. That game looked really neat, and I'd never heard of it. So that's kind of the way I leaned for that one.
Okay, well that makes me happy then that people are looking up games they've never heard of and being like, oh, this this looks interesting. Like, let's check that out. Like, I like to hear that. That's cool, because that's one thing I wanted to do with this podcast is like, I've got an assload of games, and maybe I've got a game that you would have never heard of under other circumstances, but because you heard me talk about it, you might discover that it's one of your favorite games of all time, and you'd never know it. You know what I mean?
Like Doom 2.
Like Doom 2, exactly.
I was actually wondering if, like, once these come up in the poll, will they be put back into the system? Because there's still some of these that didn't win the Discord poll that I think would make fantastic episodes, and I'd like to see them have a second chance someday.
Oh, yeah. The only ones that I take off are the ones that win.
Nice.
I figure that's fair. Now, some games I've left on even after we've done episodes on them because I'd like to go back to them. Like Skyrim, I left that on so I can go back and we can cover more of the DLC stuff. I left Fallout 4 on there because I fucked myself over because I was still getting used to the new modding setup that I had, and I ruined my game. So I left that on there. And then there's a couple other games that like we didn't beat, but we'd like to. But yeah, as far as the poll goes, like say Chrono Trigger 1, I'll play that this week and then take that off. But the other ones will still be on the randomized list, so they could come up again at some point. Absolutely. Let's see. Let me run through the quick ending bullshit real quick. If you would like to find us on social media, you can go to Steam Machine Podcast. Or shit, I don't fuck that up. Take 2. If you would like to find us on social media, you can find us at facebook.com/The Steam Machine Podcast, or you can join our group on Facebook. It's the Steam Machine Podcast Lounge. You can find us on Twitter at Steam_podcast. We also have a website if you want to make it really easy, where you can find all of the links that have to do with any of my bullshit, whether it be music or podcasting or whatever else. Go to the steammachinepodcast.wordpress.com. Do you want to be like Nate? You want to be a cool ass dude and join our Patreon and help support the show? It's patreon.com/Steam Machine Podcast or whatever. You can go to the Patreon and search the Steam Machine Podcast. You'll find us. And if you would, it would mean a super duper ton to me if you would go over to iTunes and leave the show a 5-star review. We've got 7 5-star reviews, and I would like to give away a game at 10 5-star reviews. So if you will bump those numbers up, we will do that. I'm thinking about it. I believe that this is episode 49. So I'm thinking Chrono Trigger will be the 50th episode. It's kind of fitting. It's like a monumentous type thing. It's going to be strange without Ryan for a while, but with friends like these, I think I'll make it through. I appreciate you guys joining me this week.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And
Stoked to be here, dude. Couldn't have asked for a better game. Couldn't have asked for a better crew.
oh, I feel loved. Now, before I get out of here, plug yourselves. I know you both stream, you both do stuff, so please tell everybody where you can be found on Twitch, social media, whatever you'd like to plug.
Yeah, so I'll go first. Nate here. I stream on twitch.com/Turtlebearman, and also same name. Find me on Twitter. So just go ahead and give me a follow in both of those places, and we'll hang out there and have some good times.
For sure.
I forgot to have anything to plug, so if you want to see me on Twitch, I stream regularly. Twitch.tv/Icebrandstudios. I'm Icebrandstudios on a few things, but not everything yet. And go check to see if you can get vaccinated, man. That would be like a cool thing. Sometimes you wouldn't know that, but you might fit into a category. I found out recently people who drive for Postmates, Uber Eats, that kind of thing are actually eligible like food service workers in some states. So
That's
check
rad.
it out.
That's rad. Yeah, I think next week they're opening it up to people my age down here in Florida. So I'm hoping to be able to get in there and get that done so I can stop worrying about that.
Would also like to point out that I have my first dose of the vaccine, and my follow-up date, 4/20.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, on that note, I actually say I'm going to edit this and toke up. So, boys, I appreciate you joining me. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. And if it has to do with either of you, I am severely sorry. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. So thank you, Nate and Willie, the Brothers of Destruction. You know them as Kane and Undertaker. Thank you for joining me this week for the Steam Machine Podcast. My name's Dalton. And as always, guys, take it easy.
About the moon and star, come to me through fire and war. Oh, oh, come Nerevar, come and look upon the heart, Oh, lay down your weapons, it is not too late for my mercy. Oh, oh, come and look upon the heart, Oh, I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? Shame on you, sweet Nerevar. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm a god, god. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm a god. Welcome, moon and star. Come to me through fire and war. Oh, oh, come, Nerevar. Come and look upon the heart. Look upon the heart. Oh, lay down your weapons. It is not too late for my mercy. Oh, oh, come and look upon the heart. Look upon the heart. Oh, oh, oh. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? Shame on you, sweet Nerevar. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm a god, god. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm a god. No recall or intervention can work in this place. There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. There is no escape. No recall or intervention can work in this place. There is no escape. Oh, I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? Shame on you, sweet Nerevar. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm a god, god. I'm a god. I'm a god. I'm a god.